Okay, this is the first of a series of videos we're going to do about Jon Jones, and in this first video we're going to cover what I think are some of the most important aspects of his game, which are the psychological elements. This is psychological elements that happen during the fight. And the reason I think that this is important is because it's something that almost anyone can recreate. You don't have to be similar to Jon Jones in any particular nature. You don't have to have the same kind of athleticism or body type or techniques. You can be taking this on board regardless of what your individual kind of attributes are. What we're talking about here is Jon Jones's ability to get his opponent to be thinking too much about what Jon Jones is going to do and not enough about what they're going to do. In sports psychology terms, we might refer to this as paralysis by analysis. That's the state of mind you want your opponent in, where they're broadly paying too much attention to the problems at hand and they're becoming internally immersed or internally focused instead of staying more externally focused and being in the moment and doing their own attacks. We saw this in particular in the Anthony Smith fight, where Smith seemed to be definitely in that kind of paralysed state for a lot of the fight, where he was too busy thinking about what Jon Jones was going to do, too busy thinking about the problems in front of him and not acting enough. So if we can get the person to pay attention to our game rather than their own game, it gives us a big advantage. How does he do this? This is where the unorthodox and creativity really comes into play. So if you're doing a technique which is a little bit away from the norm, right, a little bit unorthodox or a little bit something that this person hasn't seen that often in their own training camp, then you can potentially get them into this state of mind where they start to over-analyse. So it could be that I'm hitting something, spinning elbow, or I'm just coming up with something crazy, like maybe I'm hitting an axe kick, or maybe I'm hitting a hook up to the person's head. He uses a lot of long range leg kicks as he's coming in. It doesn't really matter what the technique is. It needs to be something a little bit unorthodox, a little bit creative, which is going to get this person thinking. If I can do that, if I can achieve that state of mind, then all my other aspects become easier because I've got this person in the incorrect state of mind. So I can still throw absolutely standard shots. I don't have to keep doing this as long as I put the person into that state in the first place. So what you'll see Jones do is come out and use pretty creative stuff quite early on in the fight. This is the other great thing about what he does in terms of these tactics. He doesn't leave it until late in the fight, right? So he doesn't start off with just standard orthodox stuff and making sure he's neat and tidy and then experiment later in the fight. Early on he's hitting fairly creative stuff. It might be that he just comes out and does a little jump knee, or maybe he just comes straight in with the oblique kicks and he's hitting those pieces from there. But he gets it done early so the person early on in the fight is switching into this state. On the other side of things, if he can hit something creative which actually does some damage, then even better. Or it just gets close enough to feel like a serious threat. So you don't want to be throwing stuff for the sake of it. You don't want to just be throwing a kick out and hoping that the other person starts to panic. You want to hit something that feels like a serious threat to them. So maybe he goes for a spinning back kick, maybe it doesn't land tidy or doesn't connect properly, but the other person's still got on their mind, whoa, hang on, I need to just be careful about that. Maybe he hits a oblique kick and maybe it just skims the person and doesn't fully connect, but they can feel it and they're like, oh, okay, now I need to watch out for that. And now he's starting to think about several different elements that he's got to watch for. This is the upside of creative techniques, unorthodox techniques that people miss. So if we're going through this stuff typically at the gym here and we're going through these things in class, then people don't appreciate this psychological factor. So I might be showing them something that's a little bit unusual and they can't understand why we might do that technique when it's less powerful than something else or more risky than something else. For example, if we were hitting a spinning side kick again, right, this has got some inherent risk to it. It's a very powerful kick, but there's plenty of things that could go wrong as I'm hitting this. And I think the natural instinct for a lot of people is, well, why don't I just stick to the stuff that's a bit safer, right? Why don't I just stick to my standard kicks from here so that I'm not taking so much risk? This again is because it's the psychological effect, even if it misses the person. So if I throw this kick and I get the other person thinking about it, that's what I want. It doesn't have to land. This is the mistake people make. Right, so let's say I'm throwing a hook kick from here. It doesn't matter that it's a real difficult kick to connect with, or it's going to have a real hard time knocking the person out if it lands on their hands or anything else. It's the job that it does on them psychologically. Now all of a sudden they're seeing something that they haven't seen before in training camp. They see that thing and they go, oh, okay, this is a bit different. And their brain starts to over-analyse. So it doesn't really matter what it is, but it's got to be creative enough that this person hasn't seen it regularly. Anything they've seen regularly, their brain's already got its self in tune with and can react nice and naturally and defend it. So I want to pick things that are going to make this person over-analyse. Whether it's spinning back fist from here, whether it's coming up with an elbow, whether it's these oblique kicks, whether it's hitting a spinning attack, whether it's coming in and hitting a slightly unorthodox attack on the person's base, doesn't matter. Whatever it is, the advantage to these techniques is not necessarily the physical damage it does, that's just a bonus, but the psychological impact it has on your partner. So part one of this, if you're going to fight like Jon Jones, understand the importance and the purpose of being creative and unorthodox with your attacks. They don't even have to land. They don't even have to do a lot of damage. They just have to get the other person into this state of mind where they're stressed about what you're going to do. Paralysis by analysis, that they over-analyse what's coming next from you and worry too much about what they're going to do, what you're going to do, and not enough about their own game and what they should be doing. Brilliant examples of this from Jon Jones all over the place, but Anthony Smith, a particularly relevant one where he's pretty much frozen throughout the fight because of these things coming in. So Jon Jones, part one, be unorthodox, be creative, understand and appreciate the advantages that that can give you. For more videos like this, head on over to ufcsecrets.com and we're going to be releasing the additional parts of how to fight like Jon Jones pretty soon.